How's it going, everyone? So today I'll be canning a blend of 50-50 ground beef and ground pork. Now I did grind the pork myself. It is actually from our last pig. So I'm just going to take you guys along the process that I do for this kind of canning. So the first thing we're going to do is mix the two meats together. So I'm just going bare hands. I can wash my hands in between all the processes here, but I prefer to just use my bare hands. So we'll just break up this ground beef a little bit, get it easier to work with. It's still kind of frozen, but not really. It's just a little on the hard side in the very center. I'll show you some footage of me grinding up the pork here. So once we have this ground beef mostly broken up, I'll start to incorporate the ground pork right into it. Alright, so now that it's mostly broken up, I'm just going to incorporate it right into the ground pork. Nice and gentle. Now it's 5 pounds of ground beef and 5 pounds of ground pork. A lot of people are concerned about canning meat, but I can tell you firsthand that it is quite safe so long as you follow all of the rules. There are some very basic rules that you must follow, and if you do not, it can become very unsafe. But if you follow all the rules, you will be fine. I have personally been canning meat for the better part of, I'd say, 8 years, and I've never had any issues. I'll incorporate some footage of me canning chunks of pork the other day, right now. That was me trying to get some good footage without realizing that the camera was still on time lapse. So that's the footage that I ended up with. We do all kinds of canning here, which I'll show a whole bunch more once we get back into the gardens. Okay, so now that we've mixed the two meats together, I'm going to incorporate some peppers and onions. I love to put the peppers and onions right into the jars. It just adds to the flavor, and yeah, it's just amazing. I love doing it. So I'm just going to add some right now after I wash my hands. Alright, so now my hands are clean, I'm just going to take some of the peppers and onions that I've already set up earlier. It's already chopped up and ready to go. I'm just going to incorporate that right into this blend. Now I chopped up just shy of 10 cups of mixed peppers and onions. So in this batch, I'm going to use probably all of it. I'm going to start with half, mix it in, and see what we get. I like adding the different colored peppers too because it really adds to the color in the jars. It looks really cool. Yeah, we're definitely going to be using all of it. No question. I don't want to add it all at once though because I have to mix it all together and I don't want to make a big mess. So we'll start with that, mix it in. So it's a pretty easy number to remember. If you have 10 pounds of ground meat, add 10 cups of chopped onions and peppers, and you will get basically the same thing I have. So we'll just add in the last of our peppers and onions. There we go. Set that off to the side and mix it in. Now I do have to reiterate, this is only me showing you guys how I do it. There are lots of recipes online that you can follow, and I'll even post a link in the description to a canning website that I use for everything I can. Now, me adding the peppers and onions into this mix is not actually on their website. That was just something I tried one year, and it worked flawlessly. So I've done it ever since. Now that we've mixed all of our onions and peppers together, and our beef and pork is definitely mixed in together, there's no more big frozen chunks anywhere, we are going to start browning the meat. The biggest reason to do that is to render all of the fat, and then I will strain the fat out of it, and then we can start to pack our jars with the ground mix. So I'll wash my hands and we'll head over to the stove. Now that we're at the stove, all I'm going to do is transfer a whole bunch right into this nice thick bottom pot that we have here. It can hold approximately 12 cups at once. I'm not going to put that much in. So yeah, I'll just fill it about halfway, get her going, and I'll go from there. And I'll turn it on right away. I'm just going to keep it on low. And we'll just keep doing batches as we go along. And I did not bother to put any oil in the bottom of this, because as everything heats up, the fat will start to render and give us a nice coat of oil at the bottom. So no burnies. So I'll stick a lid on that for the moment, let it start to simmer, and then we'll come back. Okay, so now I can hear the bottom starting to simmer. We're just giving it a nice stir. Start to get that fat to render. We don't actually want to fully cook this, we just want to brown it so we can render all of the fat out of it. So low and slow is the key. You also don't want to overcrowd your pot or pan. Then it gets difficult. Ask me how I know that. Yes, I've done it. There you go. Let that render some more. And in the meantime, I'm going to prep my jars. Now, you can see the fat starting to render at the bottom now, which is exactly what we're looking for. Just give it a nice stir. Make sure nothing is sticking. which at this point it shouldn't because of the nice layer of fat at the bottom. And we'll just let that continue for a little bit more. I actually forgot to do this step earlier. I don't know how, but I did. We do add sausage seasoning into our mix. That's it right there. It's very yummy. So I'll do that now. And basically, it's 1 tablespoon per pound of meat. So we have 10 pounds of meat in total. Do 10 tablespoons. So I'm putting 9 in there, and I'll put 1 tablespoon inside the pot, which is roughly a pound. It's actually just a little over a pound, so I'll put 1.5. About that much. And we'll stir that into both and carry on. So we're just starting to brown now. There's still a lot of pink and red though. So we'll let that go for another little while. It certainly smells yummy. This is a very versatile setup. You can use this for taco night. You can use it for spaghetti meat sauce. You can use it in lasagna. You can throw it on a pizza. You can do all kinds of stuff with this combination. I no longer see any red or pink meat, and we have rendered most of the fat out of it. So at this point, I'm going to shut this off, and we're going to go strain all the fat out. So let's go do that. You can hear it dripping through. This is working. Okay, so now we move on to filling the jars. So let's do that. So at this point, we're just going to take our canning funnel. We're going to stick it in one of our jars. And try to make some room here. You don't make a mess. There. That'll work. So we'll take a scoop of our ground beef and pork mix and peppers. With this scoop, if it is full, it'll do 1 cup. So we'll just do one of these. Nice and gentle. And then we'll use our handy dandy bubbler to pack the jar. You don't want it super packed, but you do want to pack it fairly well, because it will still shrink a little bit in the canner. So we'll just stuff that down a little bit. And that is pretty much perfect. So we'll set up our next jar, transfer the funnel. And that looks beauteous. Exactly what we're looking for. So I'll just fill all the jars and I'll come back. It is very important that you leave the 1 inch of headspace above the meat. You can be a little bit under that, but you do not want to be under 1 inch of headspace. If you're not familiar with headspace, it is the layer between the top of the product, whatever you're canning, to the bottom of the lid. That would be considered the headspace. And for most canning, 1 inch of headspace is required. So that batch of meat was enough to fill 10 250s perfectly. So now I'm just going to wipe all the lids off, the rims all the way around, and then we can seal them up. So I got my paper towel here. It's got some vinegar right on the corner, and I'll just go around and wipe the tops. Once that was done, I'll set it back and carry on. I was very gentle when I put the meat in, so I did not get any fat or residue on the rims, but you always do this just in case. It guarantees the seal. All the rims are wiped. We can now put our lid and ring on. And you don't want to tighten these too far. Finger tight, which is basically 2 fingers and your thumb, and you just use your wrist. Do not use your arm. Do not crank it. Just tight. You don't want it too loose either. Once you've done enough canning, you kind of get the feel for it. A lot of it through trial and error. We'll just double check all of our lids and rings. Make sure they're at the correct tightness. Okay, now those are all ready to go into the canner, but I'm going to carry on until I have a full batch for the canner. This is not enough jars to can for us at once. I'll just do one big batch. Actually, I'll do several big batches in the canner. So I'll just set these off to the side for the moment, and then we'll come back once I have enough jars to fill the canner. So our canner is at full capacity now. I'm going to turn it on and start to pressurize the system. I'll show you that process. So now I've got the pressure canner on max. I'm just going to wait for it to start venting. There we go. Our pressure relief valve is now up. So we have to wait until we have a constant head of steam for 10 minutes. It's not quite a constant head. There's still spurts in between. So we'll wait for that. Okay, so we've been venting for 10 minutes at a full head of steam. Now it's time to put our weight on. So I'll use it to push the steam away from me, drop it down, and give it a spin. The spin is just to make sure that it's on correctly. So now we wait until it reaches 10 psi, and the weight will start to wobble and make all kinds of funny noises. You'll see what I mean. So we just hit 10 psi, and the wobbler is starting to do its job. It is releasing excess pressure from inside the canner to maintain 10 psi. It will jump between 10.5 to 11 psi, but that is perfectly fine. We just don't want it to drop below 10 psi at this point. We want it to run at 10 psi for 90 minutes uninterrupted. So I'll turn the stove down just a little bit, and I'll bring you guys back once the 90 minutes is up. So our 90 minutes elapsed, and I turned the stove off. It's been sitting for about 20 minutes. The pressure is all the way down to 0. Our relief valve is down, which it should be. So at this point, I'm going to take our weight off. and give it another 10 minutes or so, and then I can open it up and pull the jars out. Okay, so I waited the 10 minutes. I'm going to open the lid on the canner and pull all of our jars out. And you can see they're still boiling away. They will continue doing that for quite a while. And it looks like I packed them sufficiently because they didn't shrink down terribly far. They did shrink down, but not as bad as I've seen them do before. We definitely hit the packing. It's perfect. So that's 26 jars in one batch. 26 250s, that is, in one batch. And from this point, they will cool off, and I will check them again in about 12 hours or so. Make sure all the seals are down, which all of them should be. If they're not, I will pull them out to the side and probably eat them right away. There's nothing wrong with the food, it just won't last forever if the seal is not down. So from this point, I'm just going to carry on, do more ground beef pork mix, and can them. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.